Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Saxtons River Village Trustees, and we are meeting in hybrid fashion. So I urge all of you to not have any technical difficulties, but if you do, the number to call or text is 802-376-4639. You can also put anything in the chat if you want to tell us your issue there. I would ask you, if you are not a trustee, to put your name and your affiliation into the chat. That's for the purpose of our valiant clerk, Carl.
Hello.
That was interesting.
Yes, I just am.
Oh, it's Louise.
Yeah.
I think I might mute her. It's good to know these voices. Okay. We've already called the meeting to order, and we'll move on to public comment. Dexter, I hate to make you wait through a whole long agenda. Your purpose in coming, can it be called public comment? You're coming to talk about the wastewater treatment plant?
Yeah, I'm coming to talk about the wastewater project. If you want to move it up in the agenda, that'd be great. If not, I'm at home, so I'm comfortable, and I can just sit here and stand by. And hopefully, if it does get to be later, I'll still be paying attention when it comes up. But I'm okay. Whatever works for you.
Okay, it's actually we have other people, but it's going to come up fairly once we get through the municipal park and the municipal planning grant and the village park. Then we can move quickly to you. All right. Are there any other public comments? Okay. The municipal planning grant. So thank you all for the comments you've sent. Is that a motion, Rick? Are you trying to be called on?
No.
Just a gesture. Okay.
Somebody just pulled in, and so we're applying facial gear.
Great. Let's see. Maybe I'll start with the comments that I've received. So Carl objects to the word, points out the use of the word master plan. Rick, does that word have resonance for the select board? I'm not sure. Gary started using it and I accepted it, but I'm not sure what the meaning is.
Gary is on vacation right now, and I spoke to him this afternoon, but I don't know what significance the word master plan may or may not have for planning grants.
Okay. Carl, does it have resonance for you in a particular way?
Oh, yes, it seems to me that it's a, what should I say? It's an overriding plan, a direction for future action. To me, it implies something broader than the infill of this one property, which is what we have been talking about up till now. I think that if our planning there is related to that property, and I think you pointed out the traffic and parking in front.
Yes.
That's less than a master plan. A master plan might be something like, I don't know, designing a streetscape or developing other properties or looking for long-term, larger changes at that end. And I just think that the term is too big for this grant.
So I will describe our problem to you. We do want to address the parking issues and the traffic flow issues that are right there. Since the last time we met, I've had correspondence with the postmaster, Keith Belcher, who is very eager to see these issues addressed. And Gary felt that master plan would allow us in a very short word to fold in those issues around parking and traffic flow. So we're actually up against the project title, which has to be in 80 characters. And that is the first time we use the word master plan. We call the project now Infill Redevelopment and Master Plan in the designated village of Saxtons River. So if you like, I can go back to Gary and try and wordsmith. What I'm hoping for tonight is that we might reach agreement so that the plan could go to the Planning Commission at the end of this week. They need to have things before they meet. And I'm quite eager to have any relevant feedback from them. But I don't want to rush the process here at this level.
Well, I would suggest that you might just delete master from master plan and produce a plan for the west end of the designated village center, including improved pedestrian and vehicular traffic flow and parking.
Okay, so you're on to 2.3. I'm still looking at 2.2, the title. So maybe instead of master plan, just do plan?
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing that Carl picked up on is the use of streetscape. I want to say that we are not going back to the idea that we discussed over the course of several meetings for looking at the entirety of Main Street and looking at the dimensions and bike lanes and trees and sidewalks. That is not the intent. Again, it is code for looking at parking spaces, crosswalks, curbs, those issues that have to do with traffic flow and parking right in that area. So that's in 2.4, where we talk about I'm trying to see where we actually use the word streetscape. I'll make a note of it and try and take it out. Will that work for you, Carl?
Yeah, I'm just sensitive to that word, since it seems to be a code. It seems to be a code for something that we decided we weren't really interested in.
Okay. I should point out that this grant will be read by people in Montpelier who will see the minutes, which show that we spent some time discussing these issues, but they will not have our frame of reference. They will not be revisiting the history that we went through to come up with this grant. So I think what I'm trying to say is Gary and I were intent on writing the grant for their reading, for their eyes and their vocabulary. Although it is true, this grant is being passed around and will be read here and interpreted here. And maybe for that reason alone, we should stay away from the word streetscape.
I can tell you where it is if you would like.
Sure.
In your section 2.4.
Yep.
Third line from the end. Enjoy the compact streetscape.
How about streets?
Sure.
Great, thank you. All right, are there other comments on the municipal planning grant? I know, Rick, you came and I assume Susan did also to talk about Main Street Arts. Is this an opportunity for you to address your issues?
Sure. We filed a letter in support of the grant, which I emailed you earlier this afternoon. Susan and I co-authored that letter.
Mhm.
I guess I'm open to any questions folks have. I don't want to, unless people want to hear the letter, it'd take me a couple minutes to read it. But I think Susan and I are open to questions or comments.
I've read the letter. I can forward it on to you. Given how close we were to the meeting, I chose not to. It reiterates information that Main Street Arts has shared with us along the way. I actually am in possession now of 3 letters. Louise Loring has provided a letter and a generous donation from the Saxtons River Historical Society. The letter from MSA is coming with a donation of $500. And I also have a letter from Keith Belcher documenting the problems he saw at the post office. So I'm feeling like we're in great shape on supporting data. And your letter fits right in with that. I think I'll ask for questions to you two rather than asking you to read the letter. Questions from the board, or for that matter, from the public, for Susan and Rick on the Main Street Arts part. Okay.
Nope.
Moving on. Are we ready to approve this grant? Discussion. Ellen, you anything to say?
Everything looks good to me. I have
Okay.
no objections to it.
Okay, Carl? Oh, I should have said at the beginning of the meeting, I apologize. Matt Brennan emailed me this afternoon and said he couldn't be here. So he is not here, and I don't know his stance on the grant. Carl, are you reassured by the changes we're making? How do you feel about this grant? Are we ready to vote on it?
I thought the grant was very well done, except for those two sticking points at the beginning.
Okay, well, I'll ask for a motion in that case. I think what I'm looking for is a motion to approve the grant as written.
I'll make a motion that we approve and authorize the chair to submit the grant as written and presented to the Saxtons River trustees on this date.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. I will complete the pieces that have come up. Carl, I'm seeing a hand.
Yeah, can I make an amendment?
No.
Maybe a friendly one. What would you like to say, Carl?
That it incorporate the changes that we've discussed.
Yep. I assume that that's what Rick meant by as presented tonight, but it is a little vague.
As presented and discussed with the changes presented at the trustees meeting on this date.
I should tell you one other thing. You've seen the work plan. There are budgeted figures in that plan. We will be going out for quotes, but I'm anticipating, that was my fire alarm if you heard the squeak. Sorry about that. I'm anticipating that it's going to be another 3 weeks before we have the actual quotes. So we're going to put it through the submission process, even though I don't know the exact amount for the final budget. But it can't be any more than $22,000 because that's the max that this grant will cover. And we have that. I guess I should do that as a separate motion. We have that in matching funds. So the motion has been made to approve the grant as presented tonight with the changes discussed here. It's been seconded. All in favor, raise your hand. Carl, are you voting on this?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I guess
That's okay. So that motion passes. Margaret, thank you for your vote of confidence. You actually,
I know, I'm not supposed to.
more power to you. Okay.
Margaret for trustee 2022.
Yeah. Don't think she wasn't asked.
Don't
Okay.
think she wasn't asked again.
So I did not warn this, but I think we discussed at the last time, clarify for me, a $500 contribution from the village of Saxtons River. I should warn that. Never mind. We'll do it in 2 weeks. And by then we'll know more what the funding is. But I will look to the village trustees to identify a contribution for this.
For this.
Okay.
Well, I'm a little bit
confused.
lost here.
I'm sorry. I aired all my thoughts. When it comes time to submit the actual grant, we will have to submit a 10% match for the $22,000 grant that we are applying for. We need to show that we have that money in hand, that it isn't just promises, but we're good for it. So I will ask for a motion for that at the next board meeting. I didn't warn it at this one, so I'll do it at the next one.
I had thought that the town was providing the match for this grant. Wasn't that said at one point?
Gary and I thought it would be fair if the town provided a large match and the village provided a smaller one. It shows that it's our skin in the game as well. But I'll tell you what, you're welcome to give me your thoughts now, but I think we should save this for a warned discussion at the next meeting.
That's fine. I'm happy to wait.
Okay. All right. We are on to committee reports and updates, and we have an amazing Saxtons River Park guidelines of use to discuss. Margaret and Louise, I think you're on. Margaret, do you want to?
Yep, I had to unmute. Sorry. So we are sort of informally called Friends of the Park. And it consists of Louise Loring, Abigail Gold, Peter Bergstrom, and I. So we have spent several months kind of, tossing back and forth some words in terms of how best the park can serve the village and its uses. So we've been very careful with the choosing of our words. So we're not going to be overly negative and have it be more of an inviting policy, but that it also helps protect the park as well. So I'm hoping that all the trustees have had a chance to review the policy.
So let's talk about that. I can also put it up on the screen if people want to see it. I have to say I was blown away by this.
Oh, thank you. Would you like me to read it for people that
No, it's too long. Don't read
Okay.
it. It looks to me like you thought of every eventuality. Portable toilets, too much noise. Oh, good. Peter is here as well. So Peter, we've just begun discussing the Saxtons River Park guidelines of use. Okay. And I suppose I should have begun by saying thank you, Margaret, Louise, Abigail, and Peter, for all your hard work on this. It's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We tossed around what the fee should be, and certainly the village trustees should weigh in on that, but we didn't want it to be overly, onerous for people so that small gatherings could also afford this. We also have the ability to waive fees as well. So we have some flexibility in that policy.
Yeah. So Margaret is quoting from number 17, which I would love to read to the group at large. The fee for an event permit is $50. The fee may be waived at the discretion of the park committee or the village trustees. In addition, tax-deductible donations toward the upkeep of the park would be greatly appreciated. That's fabulous. That's really great. And it says here, the Village of Saxtons River is a nonprofit. And you had Louise on that committee, so I'm sure that it's been vetted thoroughly.
It has been, yes.
All right, any questions from the group? Are you ready to vote on this? Okay, a question
lots
from
of
Sarah
questions,
and then from
unfortunately.
Rick. First, Sarah. You're
Sarah's
muted, Sarah.
muted.
I don't think I did it to you.
No, well, I don't know. Maybe you did. Maybe it's your lifelong dream. Who knows? Thank you for laughing, Ellen. I think the fees should be more, quite frankly. People value what they pay for. And as long as someone's going to get a credit card so that if there is significant damage to the park, it can be rectified in some way, then I'd be happy with the 50. But if there's no, let's say you have a gathering of 75 people, that can be a lot of trash. And who's going to get rid of that if they don't do the right thing? So some means perhaps of a hold on some money, if you don't want to up the fee. And an example, a wedding, $50 would be an insignificant amount in almost every budget.
So I think that it looks to me like the committee made an effort to address this issue by requiring a certificate of special event insurance in the amount of $1 million or a signed waiver of liability. And they quote a place where you can purchase such a policy and
Yeah,
say,
but that,
any damage to the park will be the responsibility of the applicant to pay for and repair.
okay, but that, a certificate of insurance, because we get those all the time in food service, that would be like if the park burned down. That wouldn't be if you had to remove $200 worth of trash.
So let's turn to the committee. Can you share your thought process with us? And Rick, I haven't forgotten. Let's go back to Rick before we turn to the committee. Rick, go ahead.
Since one of my comments is directly related to this and similar to what she had to say, I was leaning more towards suggesting that or asking if like a sliding scale had been considered. So, like if a group of group size, because the first thing when I thought of this is like there's the old farts club. I don't know what they really are, but there's half a dozen gentlemen who have coffee in the park, and we want to make sure that we don't make them feel like they need to pay, do we need to pay a $50 fee? So, is there some sort of a sliding scale we could do based on the number of people? Like, 10 people is $10, 25 people is 20, or something along those lines. I actually thought that the $50 fee for, for a lot of things, like, the Todd Roy thing that was here last week. I mean, I'm sure we would have waived the fee for that, but I wouldn't. I'm a little worried that events like that might be, people might be like, oh, we can't afford it. It's too much. They don't want to go. People don't want to go through that. So I want to make sure that my concern is both the 50 fee is not enough for something. It's not enough for some things, like Sarah said, but too much for a lot of other things. And how do we make it clear to everybody kind of what that sliding scale or what those ranges are, so that the people for the smaller events, and especially the people, the village residents for the smaller events, don't feel restricted or whatever.
Okay, so let's turn to the committee. Would one of you like to address these issues? And it looks to me like it's Abigail Goldie at the fire station. Is that right?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Good to have you here for the discussion. Yeah, I was pretty good just based on
Yes.
Very good, Amy.
Eyes only.
Okay, so somebody on the committee want to address these questions?
Well, we started out with $150 in the beginning, and there's so many different types of activities that may occur, and we wanted to encourage use of the park. People have to fill out an application. And we have the ability to waive things, but there are also very small groups that probably shouldn't even have a fee. We just need to know that they occur, so there's not going to be an overlap.
Not only that,
I guess
though,
we did
Margaret,
not view the fee as being used to repair damage. It was more to pay for ongoing upkeep, mowing, things like that. Anybody else from the committee have any?
Margaret, it's Abigail. Could I just mention that it was not just the two, oh gosh, it all went away. Oh, I'm so old. This is really bad. Therefore, I could never serve on another committee, right? No, there was something that you said that was, I really feel that we had an issue about, it was the actually filing of a certificate or a registration or whatever, an application. It was, even though it's a small group, we would like to know who it is and what they are about so that we can report, to grantors or whatever, where we're trying to get funding or whatnot, who our audience is and who we're serving in this park. So it's really behooves the trustees to get as much information as possible. And we were more focused, I think, on that application than we were on the actual amount of the fee. And Sarah, I was the dissenting member on the $50, and I really agree with you, but you thought it through much more than certainly, I ever would have. Thank you.
So I'm wondering if we should go with the presentation. I mean, it looks to me like this has been very carefully constructed. And I wonder if we might go with it for a period of, say, if I say 6 months, that puts us in the middle of spring when, I don't know how much it's going to be used in winter, although I could be surprised about that. And when I think about the people who went down and shoveled those paths every time it snowed, it kept being used. But my thought is, why don't we accept what has been given to us and keep our ears open and see what people are saying, see what kind of usage is made. Abigail. And then Carl.
I agree with that, Amy, but at the same time, here you have the trustees, and we're appealing to the trustees actually for their feedback. And I think that this sliding scale idea on the fee is a very smart one for the committee to think about and discuss. Why not take all of the comments that the committee, that the trustees want to give, and put them back to the committee, and we can continue to work on it. Yes, take what's there, but we should continue to work on it and refine it, because this is just the first pass.
Okay, Margaret,
not that we didn't spend like 20 times on it.
If you wait for a minute, Carl, I think, had his hand up before you.
I beg your pardon.
I was just going to say that I think that a sliding scale makes a lot of sense. And I'm wondering if we should just say that there is a sliding scale and not specify an amount. And
that's a great idea.
Set the fee with the application. So if somebody applies to hold a 500-person wedding in our 150-person capacity park, we can assess an enormous fee for the cleanup.
We can tell them no to begin with, Carl.
Well, we could do that too, but because it seems to me that it's kind of hard to put down in a document like this all the eventualities. Just a sliding scale from, say, I don't know, $50 to $200 or whatever, and that it would be assessed with the application.
Okay. Margaret, I think you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I have a response to both. What Sarah said made me think that perhaps having a credit card available, something like that, like a hotel does that too. If there's any damage, that you can access that credit card. I don't know how we would do that. That would be a village trustee thing, I guess. In terms of a sliding scale, I I think we would be on a slippery slope of being, I don't know, there may be some favoritism. I think you have to be really careful about how you would judge who gets one fee and who gets another one.
Okay, Sarah, did I see your hand?
Yeah, so yes, and I agree with everyone about the fee, except that I want more. But because I think eventually, if not now, if not next year, I've been in this business for a long time of dealing with gatherings, is that eventually someone misbehaves. And it can be expensive and painful. And when that happens and unexpected, it's never who you think it's going to be. And then the revered male elders of our village who meet on Wednesday mornings, why would they need a permit?
So they could ask to have it waived.
Right.
But I mean, why would they even have to tell you? It's a park. It is a public park.
Well, I think what I heard, I think Margaret said made a great deal of sense to me. I would love to be able to document at the end of the year that, 6 to 15 people, 6 to 15 revered elders met there every Wednesday morning for an hour.
Yes.
I mean, it's great to have that usage report.
Right, but couldn't you just say that we know historically that happens? I worry for some of these things, like if all of a sudden you have two moms who are meeting and their kids are running around on the grass.
I think that's different.
But who determines that's different?
Yeah.
It's not an event. It's not a planned event.
Yeah,
That's right. This says a permit is required for any planned event in the Saxtons River Park.
Right. So then when I say, because I'm a neighbor who dislikes children, no, they planned it the day before after school. I'm just trying to look at all, I'm playing devil's advocate and thinking that also you don't want to stop people. You don't want to stop two moms. You don't want to stop the revered elders from gathering there in a very small way.
Okay. Rick, you had a hand up?
It's very similar to what Sarah was saying about, a planned event is very, can have a very broad term. So if, when my kid was little, there was a group of moms with all kids the same age that planned to get together each week, and they got together at our houses. And if in the summer they said, let's get together at the park, I don't know. I really don't want to. It's a public park, and I'm worried about deterring use of it for, those kinds of like small little get-togethers and folks. So
you're talking about like not impulsive, but just being able to wander in there and.
Well, if there's like in our case, there was 5 or 6 people who had kids all within like a 6-month period, and they would get together once a week. And so
and Rick,
I'm just to use a public park for something like that.
Yeah.
And let's say there was a plan for someone to be there. I can't see Karen or anyone going, oh no, we're here first. It's a wedding or a musical, something. I think you would just go, oh, okay.
Well, go ahead, Margaret.
We have warned in this application that there may be incidental use of people wandering through your event. You can't really keep people out because it is a public park. However, if there is, let's say, a Main Street arts event or something in the morning on Wednesday, when the Romeos meet, we may want to reach out to them and say there's an event occurring at the time when you usually meet. So you might just want to know about that. It gives us, a little bit of knowledge on how the park gets used. No one gets kicked out, but the Romeos may want to know that something's happening and they may move elsewhere or not.
And that's Abigail.
Yeah, it's a two-part issue. It's both, overlap and notice and all that sort of thing. But it's also the thing that I am harping on, and it is that in order to document, your audience and your value when you are seeking grants. You need to be able to cite who your audience is. And it's not to say that, we're not asking the seniors or the older gentlemen or whatever they're called, the younger men of the village, to do an application per se, but it's good to have notice and knowledge that they're using that. I mean, and it could be, a one-time announcement, or the mommy's group with the children, or whatever. We're going to be using the park. Let us know that you're using the park. Somehow get the notice in there. I don't know how it needs to get done, but you need to know what we're doing and what we're providing so that we can continue to do it in a really good way.
I'm going to call on Louise and then we'll go to Ellen.
Going back to the fee, it occurred to me, we could say something like, large events may require a deposit that will be returned after the event, after we've assessed any changes, any damage. And that could be a large event, could be 50 or whatever we decide it is. But instead of worrying about a credit card, we have a deposit that's held until they prove they've cleaned it all up and everything.
Okay, Ellen?
Mine is more addressed towards people seeing the availability of wanting to walk over impulsively and just say, hey, let's go hang out in the park. And I'm maybe getting ahead of myself, but I think the biggest thing is communication. And my question to the park committee is, would there be access for people to see, oh, the park is reserved for this time? Would there be a web page or a calendar saying that it is reserved? There is, okay. And you would see the calendar?
Is somebody answering that?
I
Margaret?
think I had asked you one time, Amy, if we could put something on the Rockingham website. That's really the only thing we have available, I believe, right?
Put it on the Saxtons River Facebook page. That's where most of the villagers hang out online.
Is there a calendar?
Bad.
Yeah, so
No, I don't think there's a calendar there.
Yeah.
we do have the ability to put a calendar on the Saxtons River page on the town website, and that is our identified village trustee presence, online presence. Anyone who is a member of the Saxtons River Facebook page, of course, can publicize their event there. But I think that the website is probably the right place for a calendar. I'm wondering, folks, it sounds like there are enough objections. Do you want to send this back to the park committee and wait for them rather than trying to recraft a policy? Should we hand it back to them, or do you want to accept it as is? Those are the two big choices that I see. Rick?
I'd like to send it back, but I have a couple more questions first.
Okay.
So there's the guidelines for the park and the application was there, but it's not clear where someone gets the application and who they submit it to. Was a question that I came up with. Because for a lot of the smaller, even maybe some of the bigger events, time could be. I'd hate to see people have to wait for a trustee meeting. I know we went through this a little bit with Main Street Arts, and a little bit that was on them getting back to reopening and whatnot. But how do we make it an efficient and timely process? And I was curious as to how the 150 people was calculated.
So those are two questions to go back to the committee. Do you want to answer either one of them, Margaret, speaking for the group?
I think someone in the group had said, I'm trying to remember what that was, that there were 150 people. I think it was at the 4th of July event. Was that right?
The concert, the symphony concert.
The symphony concert. Okay, thank
Okay.
you, Louise. And it seemed to handle that, so that's why we got that number.
Okay.
How
great,
do
thank you.
people come? Do they come to you at this point before this committee? Do they just
have.
go to the trustees and ask for an application?
Yeah,
Again, that could be put on the website. And
I
then
think that would
sent
be
to one of
the
us.
easiest. Put it on the website and periodically do a flurry of press through Front Porch Forum, through the Saxons River Facebook page, making sure that we reiterate that there is a process for booking the park.
Mhm.
There's an application at this place, and there are guidelines for use at this place, and please get in touch. If one of you wanted to provide an email, or if we wanted to, it could come to me and then I could forward it. Certainly that I'm happy to forward it. I, like you, I hate to see people forced to wait as much as 2.5 weeks between, well, 2 weeks typically between meetings. Maybe 3 weeks if we were ever able to skip a meeting.
The trustees do not have to approve.
Yeah,
That's correct. Yeah.
So it could, as soon as we knew about it.
Yep. We're just back to talking about who would have the application. And I think if it were routinely available, that would be great. And, maybe it's the kind of thing that if you're part of a group, pretty soon you have it on your hard drive and you just make a point of printing out whenever it's needed. Ellen, I see your hand.
Yeah, I guess mine is just going to be based on some experience. I used to be on the Saxons River Rec Committee, and I was in charge of scheduling events at the pavilion. And that was super stressful for me just because I live across the street from the rec. And so I could hear events going way later than they said they would. So I commend the committee for, taking this on, because there's a lot involved to it. And so thank you again for doing this. And I really appreciate it. And the scheduling, I think, became the most stressful part of it for me. This was a while ago, maybe 10 years, but if there's anything I can do to just help with some suggestions, timeliness was a big thing, and not double booking.
Mhm.
But we didn't really have the resources of as much as we do today with, apps and websites and things like that. So
I just heard Ellen volunteered.
Nope. No, I did not. I have way too much on my plate.
Maybe we can get a QR code etched into the bench.
That's a good idea.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
What?
Maybe we get the QR code etched into the bench when they do the engraving.
QR code.
I like it, Rick.
A little box with applications in it.
Next to the doggy bag
For
box.
some sort of signage about, for use of the park, go to, website or something.
Yeah, and I do
that
think
big.
Sarah's right,
Good
though.
idea.
I mean, having something on the Saxons River Facebook page, because people don't go to the town website very often. And the Saxons River Facebook page really is the heart of information for the town.
Right.
And if the people running that could put events, then that would be a great thing to have there.
Yeah.
We could have events put in for the trustee meetings and all sorts of stuff there that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe link a Google Calendar or something.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Joan. She's an administrator, Joan Campbell. She's an administrator. And I think it's her and Todd, and I don't know who else.
I am
Okay,
too.
I'm going to cut you off. Peter has his hand raised.
I just wanted to mention Facebook is not set up for finding information like that. Everything scrolls off the bottom. So I would not, most town parks have a page on the town webpage. And I think people will find it with a search engine. There's a new park in Springfield called Com2 Cascade Park, and it has a nice page with pictures, and the use policy is down at the bottom. I think that's the way to reach people.
Great. Okay, I think we're ready to move on. The one other issue on the village park is the engraving on the benches. And for that, I think we turn to Peter and to Carl, who have been struggling with finding an engraver. So Carl, let's have you go first.
Well,
And
I've
I'm
been-
sorry, this comes out of the blue. I'd forgotten to tell you about this.
Yeah, well, I have been contacting Chris Potter at Fenton Hennessy's, who coordinates all of this stuff. I haven't been in touch with him directly for a little while, but I've left him messages. He supposedly is getting an estimate, but I haven't seen anything. So if you on the park committee have something lined up, I can just tell them that you found somebody. And
Peter, can you speak to that?
Yeah, Carl, I sent you the quote I got and sent it to Margaret too. 625 for both benches with black shading inside. That was on August 5th. So if we want to move ahead before winter, we can just use that person. His name is, I think his name is Dan Tardy. And I got his name from Abbiati Monuments in Brattleboro.
if, okay, so two responses. The first one is if the board is content with that, I'm perfectly content to call Chris and say we found someone else because we haven't heard from you. I think that the amounts he was talking about was cheaper than $650, but there's
625.
625,
Yeah.
but they weren't hard estimates. That they weren't a quote.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is, as far as the black lettering, we had some discussion about that. Louise, you may remember this, and it seems to me that the consensus was just to have plain lettering and nothing filled in, more subtle. Do you recall that? No? You're
Louise
muted.
is shaking her head.
What are your reasons, Carl?
This was a long ago discussion. I don't remember what the reasons were. I'm just saying, it seems to me that was brought up when we were talking about having the engraving done on the benches instead of having a pre-hanging sign. Personally, I don't particularly care.
Peter?
Yeah, I mean, I only suggested it because one of the memorial benches in the cemetery uses the black lettering, and I think it would show up much better from the sidewalk and from the street. I think people walking or driving by could much more easily read it if it were filled in black.
What's your
Louise, you spend
feeling?
a lot of time debating the park. Do you have a
Louise?
about this?
What was, somebody asked me a question?
Yeah,
No, Carl is wondering about the black lettering.
wondering what you thought of that. You have been involved with the park for longer than
I think that's a good idea. I think it will be much more visible. And Abigail seems to agree.
Abigail, go ahead.
We did in the past say no shading, but I think that was before the park was put together. I think that it's absolutely clear. Peter's idea is perfect. I think that we do need that. I agree with the dark lettering. Louise, I agree with you. I agree with Peter.
Oh,
I do
good, thank
too.
you.
Okay, great.
So we seem to have
We can go out to drinks
consensus,
now.
although I haven't heard from Ellen or Rick. I'm fine with what's been proposed. Ellen, Rick, anything to contribute to this discussion? Okay.
I agree.
Do you need a vote from us, Peter? What do you think, Carl?
Well, I think we need to vote to spend the money.
Okay.
Yeah, the village has the money. That park committee doesn't.
Right. Okay.
And it's possible that, Carl, if you call your contact, they might say, "Oh, we'll get you a quote this afternoon. So you might, that might be what it takes to nudge them. But yeah, I'll forward you that that email again so you can see what the black lettering looks like.
Carl, do you want to pursue a quote, or are you ready to make a decision tonight?
I think Sarah has her hand up in the blur.
Hold on a minute, Sarah. Carl?
We can't hear you, Sarah.
I was gonna say you could just propose to spend up to $650 and leave it in Carl's hands.
$625.
Or whatever. There may be tax.
Okay, Carl, I think given the length of time, I'm wondering whether you'd like to just go with this new person. It sounds like you've left messages, you've done everything you can to reach out to your former contact.
I'm sorry. I'm happy to go either way. I can give him a call and say, are you going to have an estimate or not? Or I can say that we've decided to go with someone else. I'll blame it on the park committee.
Well, I mean, it's possible he uses the same person and just hasn't asked him.
Yeah, well, I suspected that he hasn't been in touch with them. So
His man is up north somewhere, and this other man is in Massachusetts, I think.
No, I don't know where he lives.
Oh.
He's just, Abbiati just told me that that's who they use for engraving. So yeah,
Okay,
it's
okay.
possible we're asking the same person.
it's probably the same guy, but I don't know for sure. I don't remember his name.
Okay, Margaret?
Well, but the Abbiati fellow, or the person through Abbiati, was able to do it before the winter time though, right, Peter?
Well, yeah, this was back in early August, but yeah.
So it would be.
Yeah. That's the other question.
I would be leaning towards that. I mean, he was willing to do it quickly, so.
Okay.
All right, Abigail?
I would just say we have no obligation to recontact this other person. I would say don't confuse the issue by getting that started up again. Just let it slide. If they come back to you ever, Carl, you can say we've gone with someone else. I would say we've got somebody who has agreed to do it. I'd say go ahead. Let's get it going.
No, I'm going to turn this over to the trustees now. Rick, you have your hand up.
We authorize Carl to spend up to $650 to get the park benches engraved professionally.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second the motion.
And that's a second by Ellen. It's been moved and seconded to authorize Carl to spend up to $650 for the engraving of the park benches. Is there any more discussion? All right, all in favor, show by raising your hand. Okay, it's unanimous, Carl. All right, moving
Margaret
on.
didn't raise her hand this time.
Who didn't? Ellen didn't?
Margaret.
Oh,
She's a trustee.
I'm waiting.
she better watch her step. That's all I can say.
Okay.
She's a former trustee in Andover, if you didn't know that.
Oh,
Selectman.
Okay.
Selectman.
All right.
Bye-bye.
With your permission, I would like to move Dexter and the wastewater treatment plant up before the credit card, with apologies to you, Sarah, but we need you for more than.
I have to go on another Zoom at 8.
Okay.
And I actually have answers, which are very succinct.
I guess she wins, Dexter. I'm sorry.
No worries. I had a Wi-Fi hiccup, but I'm back. So
okay, Sarah,
waiting.
Succinct, the credit card. So
I met
everyone
with
background, Rob Wheeler would like to have a credit card with a limit on it. So he prefers always to buy locally, but occasionally he can't get something locally that he needs quickly for the wastewater treatment plant. So we have gone around this for a little bit. It's come up a couple of times, and we are now once again addressing it. Sarah, you're on.
So I met with TD Bank today, and we have a debit card confused a little bit because it's in my name, but Rob can use it. We have applied for a business credit card as a government entity. And that way, then I could get Rob with a credit card with his name on it.
Great. Are there questions for Sarah?
He cannot, so let me explain why I can't get a debit card for Rob, because he's not an authorized signer on accounts.
Okay. Ellen, are you waving a hand around or?
No, sorry.
Okay,
Just
wanted to
waving
make
around.
sure.
Sweatshirt on.
Questions for Sarah about the debit card and the business credit card? It sounds like she's already moved forward on them, which sounds great to me. Is there any further discussion? Great.
What was the limit, Sarah? I'm sorry, did you say that?
No, I did not say that, because with the debit card, there is no limit. The limit is how much money is in the account.
Okay.
Overdraft
And the credit
protection?
card?
The credit card, the bank will tell us.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? I think we're ready to move on to Dexter, who's been so patient. Sorry, Dexter, you jumped
Sarah.
onto a very crowded agenda. Thank you, Sarah. Enjoy your next Zoom.
Oh, I gotta just go run to the ladies' room.
Dexter.
Hello, Dexter. I just want to say hello.
Yeah, just,
Bye.
hi, Louise. Are you leaving? Have you retired from the trustees?
Oh, we miss her so much.
She's awesome.
She is.
So I just wanted to check in on the wastewater plant, see how things are running down there. Are things good?
I'm going to put Carl on the spot.
Well, we have had some equipment failures to deal with. One of the flow directing valves needed some work. We have put in a request for the installation of those pipes to deaden the noise. I have not yet scheduled the work as far as I know.
Reporting?
Pardon?
Reporting? Do you want to talk about the reports that were?
You're frozen. Could you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
I perhaps this isn't what Dexter's after, but you and Ben Wallace are preparing reports also, correct?
We are. We're working on the submission. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're collecting invoices for that. But I don't think that's what Dexter's referring to.
Okay,
We
I'll
just
stay
want
out of
to-
it.
That was I think that was my second item, was I had forwarded to Carl an estimate from ServPro, an invoice from New England Backflow, and an engineering amendment from us, all which totaled about $17,000. We recently got USDA concurrence on our engineering amendment, so they're good with that. And they are previously okay with the New England Backflow invoice and the ServPro charges. And the reason I bring it up is New England Backflow, our name is on the New England Backflow invoice, and they're just pressuring us excessively to get paid. So like to get that to happen soon if possible.
Carl, do you have the information on these two items?
I have, yes, I have the New England backflow. I think that also went to you, Amy, but I will pass it on. As far as ServPro goes, we have the quote. DA is telling us we can't charge that against their grant. We're still negotiating that with them.
Okay, and our amendment was recently approved by USDA. So I know I sent you an electronic copy of that. I can send you a fresh one. I'm not sure the one I sent before was signed by us, but I can get one signed by us and send that along. Is that something you could deal with at your next meeting?
Okay.
And do you need me to help you with a budget request to get the funds from USDA for these two things?
I don't think so. Ben is, even though he's no longer on the board, he is still putting that together, and he's been the one communicating with the USDA.
Okay.
So I would need help, but I don't think Ben does.
All right.
So is
Do you
the
need
issue
USDA
here,
funds?
is the issue here payment for the backflow invoice?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Do you need anything more, Carl? I see this in my email, but I have to admit, I didn't understand it and I didn't take any action on it. Can we discuss it at the next meeting on October 4th?
Yes. In the meantime, I'll track it down, Dexter.
Okay. If you need anything from me, let me know, Carl.
Will do.
Okay, so I'm adding it to the agenda for the next meeting.
And I did not catch what you had to say about ServPro. Again, you froze on me.
Oh, I thought ServPro was in the same boat as New England Backflow. I wasn't aware that USDA was not going to cover that.
Okay.
But actually, no, they're not covering it as an extra. You are retaining funds from Penta, and you're using those funds to pay those three things. So USDA doesn't have to approve it. That's your money. Why? Maybe they do need to approve it.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they need to approve
maybe
it.
they do. Yep.
So should we review both of those at the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay. Do
And
we need,
I'll talk to USDA about that ServPro one, because I think it's fair that they cover it, and I can work on Jonathan a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
okay, do we need Dexter here in October, Carl?
I'll send him an email if we do.
Okay.
And let him know what we found out.
That'll be 10-4.
Questions? I know, Ellen, there's nothing you like better than discussing the wastewater treatment plant. Here's your chance to ask questions of a real engineering person.
I think I'm all good. I've read through all, well, not all, but I've read through documents and people have filled me in. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dexter.
All right. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Is there anything else on the wastewater treatment plant? Carl?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, moving on. We are at the fire station. I don't think we have anything for the fire station tonight. I do have an invoice, which you'll see when we get to the warrant. I think Dave is pretty much done. Dave Moore, I'm talking about, with the paint job.
A little bit more to do on the roadside out here, I think, but
okay.
He's got the shutters outlined where he's going to paint the fake shutters on, like he did on the west side. But he's pretty close to done. It looks good.
Great. He also made me look at the roof, and I guess this is the appropriate time to discuss it. So again, we're looking at issues on a building, which we hope at some time in the next few years will no longer be needed as a fire station. But Dave feels we ought to have somebody look at one piece of the roof, the piece over the white trolley station facing the road. It's his opinion that that piece needs examination, that the piece over the fire station front and back and the piece facing the river on the back, those are all okay. Has this come up before? I do remember, Carl, at some time, at some remove, perhaps a year ago, discussing leaks in the roof.
That was over the fire station, not over the trolley station.
Okay.
So this, I think, is new.
Tell you what, let me dig into some history before, go ahead, Rick, before maybe we deal with this. Go ahead, Rick.
So one distinction I think we should probably start making when we're talking about repairs and upkeep is between the trolley station and the fire station. So the trolley station, which is where Ellen and I are sitting, has always been planned to remain after the fire station is gone as kind of a historical piece of Saxtons River. How it's going to be maintained, upgraded, fixed, made beautiful to be a historic part of our village remains to be seen. But I think that when we're talking about upkeep and care and feeding of the fire station, I think we should probably separate the trolley station from the fire station a little bit in our minds here.
Good point.
Right. And actually, what helps me is the fact knowing that the white parts are the trolley station and the red parts are the fire station.
Well, I mean, this room basically is the trolley station. And it could be pretty cool if it was cleaned up and all the fire stuff was gone out of here. You know, brought back to what it probably was in the 1920s.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, some positive.
Well, no. I mean, like, I don't, like as a historic landmark, sure. Like recreating it.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the fire station? All right, moving on to the minutes for approval from September 13th. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second to that motion?
Ellen?
I can't approve every single thing that you make a motion to.
I will move to second.
Well, I mean, seconding it.
I will move to second that motion.
Okay.
It puts us in a quandary, Ellen. With only 4 of us here, the chair prefers not to steamroll stuff. I mean, I steamroll plenty, as I'm sure you've noticed, but I like to hold back from authorizing motions. And Carl wrote the minutes and is trying desperately to keep track of who made the motion and who seconded it. Carl, are you raising your hand?
Yes, I am. I would make a comment that Amy suggested a couple of corrections in the minutes. So the minutes that were sent out to the mailing list are slightly revised and not the ones that you saw on Thursday, but the ones that were sent out on Saturday. So I don't know if you're all on that mailing list or not.
To report the corrections, just so we have them.
Corrections were adding Gordon and Jean Corstange to the list of attendees. I had eliminated them. And correcting the spelling of the SCADA system. I had spelled it S-C-A-T-A, not S-C-A-D-A.
No, I think it's the other around. I think it is D-A.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
I had spelled it T-A, not
okay.
A.
That's it?
Those were the corrections.
All right, it's been moved to approve the minutes of September 13th. Carl has read out the corrections that were made. Are the original motion and the second okay with those corrections?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
All right, all in favor, show with raising your hand. And we're good, unanimous of approval. All right, I'm going to show you the warrant. Hopefully you can see it. So this includes a payment to Dave Moore, the second payment. I can wait on that if you would like. Are you seeing the screen? No, you're not. Wait a minute. How about that? Is that better? So here's the question for you. Should we include Dave Moore's? Dave Moore has told me he would like to be paid now for painting. And I reminded him we had also authorized a payment for repairs, particularly to the clapboards. So that would be a total for the second half of painting and the clapboards of $3,200. Would you prefer to see that on a later invoice? I didn't include that in my email to you.
I'm fine with paying it now.
I am too.
Okay. So the rest of the amounts here are pretty normal. Green Mountain Power, Coda and Coda, and the usual tests. So that is a total of $5,004.74 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. Do I hear a
I move
motion?
we authorize the treasurer to pay.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Well, let's get the motion on the,
Okay,
I
Go
move
ahead,
that
Rick.
we authorize the treasurer to pay the warrants as presented in the amount of $5,004.74.
is there
I
a second
second.
to that motion? Ellen
I second
seconded it.
that emotion.
Carl, go ahead with your questions.
so with regard to the painting,
Yep,
this $3,200 includes the painting and some clapboard repairs that have yet to be done.
no, they were done while the painting was going on.
Okay, so I misunderstood what you had said then. So the painting has been completed.
Yes, and it's or almost completed. Rick just corrected me and said that there is still painting happening on the street side.
Just a little bit of touch-up stuff, nothing. It's
Okay.
almost Dave elaborating, in my opinion. I was not expecting the fancy painted on shutters.
So the amount there is not for anything that we're expecting to be done.
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear for the minutes.
Yep. Is there further discussion on the warrant? All right, it's been moved and seconded to pass the warrant in the amount of $5,004.74 for the 5 items listed. All in favor, raise your hand. Carl, do you have a hand? Yes. Okay,
I
it's
do.
unanimous. Thank you. Let me see if I can go stop share. All right. Is there other business to discuss tonight?
I can think of.
All right. Hearing none, items for the next meeting. I have, if I could only, discussing the match, discussing the village contribution for the municipal planning grant, discussing the backflow invoice in the amount of $17,451. I'll go back and make sure I have that figure correct, Carl. And I know you have it. It seems to me it's in an email of August 15th. Do we want to discuss the ServPro contract at that meeting as well? Carl, that's a question
might.
for you.
We
Okay.
we might.
I'll put it on. We can always skip over it if we need to. Looking back, I see I skipped the sheriff contract tonight, but it was my understanding, Rick, that you wanted to postpone that discussion to another
Yeah, we
meeting.
had said last time that we would put it off to the October meeting.
Okay. So will you be ready to discuss it October 4th, or should we make it the second meeting?
I should be okay on October 4th.
Okay.
Just really, I just gotta take the time to make a phone call and say, what do we gotta do to get our 12 hours?
Yeah. You could start with a genial line like, I'm sure you negotiated this contract in good faith. Okay. What does this mean? Roof question. So I'm going to dig into the fire department roof and try and have more information for you. Anything else for the next meeting?
Is there anything we need to do for winter as a trustees group? Like, are there any sidewalk contracts or parking or signs or ordinances that we need to take care of or normally take care of? This is kind of me as a newbie trustee, not knowing if there's anything we do or if everything's already in place.
Yeah. Why don't I look at the calendar? And Ellen, you have that calendar as well, right? The calendar that Louise used to provide. I think I sent that to you.
Yes, you did. I'm just not sure. Hold on. It'll take me a little bit to get it open. Hold
So
on.
let's discuss that. Are there any preparations for winter we need to take up? We'll discuss that at the October meeting.
And with Halloween coming up and the school doing its usual parade, I don't know if what they're gonna plan to do this year, if there's anything that the village.
I do have the calendar now.
Does it say anything for October?
Approve winter parking ban.
Huh, how about that?
Yep. And that's done October 19th.
Well, it was done then, October 19th.
Oh, yeah, this is Saxtons River Trustees Meeting Task 2020 to 2021. So,
Yep.
Yep.
So let's consider it on October 4th. And if we need to, we'll consider it the following year. So I'll go through my files and see if I have anything. Carl, do you want to look at last October's minutes and update us on what we voted last year?
Okay.
Anything else coming up on the calendar that we should be aware of, Ellen? Is there anything about Halloween?
No, it's completely blank for the only thing for September, October, November, December, January is completely blank except for that approved winter parking ban.
Okay, great.
The next thing we have to worry about is in February.
And is that the start of the annual meeting?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the sign annual meeting warning.
Yep. Yeah, we will be worrying about that, I'm sure. I will be anyway. I'm looking forward to worrying about that. So, Rick, I don't know. It sounds to me like we haven't done anything with Halloween. I don't think it's addressed in the bylaws.
I just didn't know if when they, if they have the parade, like the school used to have the parade, and I just didn't know if the trustees had to approve the marching through the village or anything, closing down the streets, or how all that played out.
I don't recall doing anything.
Well, if you close down streets, you typically do have to check in with town hall and clear it. At least I know that's true for a street fair or something like that. But I'm not sure that's within our prerogatives.
Right, and I'm just throwing it out that, just as a
Sure.
newbie, and I know most of us are new here and don't really know some of these things, and before we've got somebody like sitting here on October 30th saying, Well, what the hell?
Oh, darn.
All right. Okay. I think I'm ready to move on to item 10, executive session if necessary. Does anybody have anything they want to consider in executive session?
I do not.
Okay. I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Okay. Second?
I second it. I second the motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Bye.
So long. Thanks, everyone.